You earn 50,000, maybe a lakh a month. It's a good salary. But by the 20th, you're wondering where it went. It is easy to blame Swiggy orders or weekend plans, but the math points to a different reality. The issue is a structural mismatch between your paycheck and the cost of living. The blue line is your average salary increment, 6 to 8%. The steeper red line is real household inflation, 9 to 12%. Watch this gap. Middle-class households used to save a quarter of their income. Now it's squeezed down to 10%. Because your income isn't naturally outpacing inflation, traditional passive savings methods are failing modern earners. If you look for budgeting advice to fix this, you will immediately run into the global gold standard, the 50-30-20 rule. It was popularized by Elizabeth Warren to give people a simple way to manage their money without needing complex spreadsheets. She and her daughter, Amelia Warren Tyagi, pitched the framework in their book All Your Worth as a universal lifetime money plan. This pie chart illustrates the textbook breakdown. You split your post-tax income into 50% for absolute needs, 30% for lifestyle wants, and 20% for savings. Try applying a strict 50% cap on needs in an Indian metro city. Exorbitant housing costs and steep EMIs easily swallow half your paycheck before you even turn on the lights. The core logic of balancing current survival with future wealth is sound, but to execute it successfully in India, you must tear up the textbook percentages and recalibrate them to your specific zip code and salary bracket. Let's start with the fresh earner, bringing home between 30 and 40,000 rupees a month. At this income level, basic rent and daily groceries will comfortably consume far more than half your take-home pay. This diagram shows the required adjustment, the 70-20-10 rule. Needs expand to 70%, wants drop to 20%, and savings sit at 10%. Expanding that needs bucket gives you room to pay rent and utilities without relying on credit cards. The trade-off here is speed. Wealth accumulation at a 10% savings rate is extremely slow. You are buying time to upskill and increase your income later. For the fresh earner, the immediate financial objective isn't massive wealth creation. It is building a baseline emergency cushion to prevent debt spirals. Now look at the metro resident, earning 50,000 to a lakh in a Tier 1 city like Bangalore or Mumbai. You hit the metro squeeze. Rent, vehicle EMIs, and commuting costs naturally consume roughly 60% of your income. This pie chart maps the 60-20-20 rule. Needs take up 60%, but you protect a 20% savings rate, leaving 20% for wants. The sacrifice comes from your lifestyle. You must cut dining out, weekend trips, and subscriptions. Keeping that 20% savings bucket completely intact is non-negotiable at this income tier. It is the only way to avoid long-term stagnation. For metro residents, you protect your financial future by sacrificing present-day wants, rather than hunting for impossibly cheap housing that adds hours to your commute. Securing that 20% savings bucket is step 1. Step 2 is deploying it. Parking this money in a standard savings account guarantees a silent loss of wealth. It melts against that 9 to 12% real inflation. You must automate that 20% directly into inflation-beating assets, like equity mutual funds through SIPs. Equities come with the trade-off of short-term market volatility. That uncertainty scares casual investors back into low-yield savings accounts. You solve this by building a separate, highly liquid emergency fund containing 3 to 6 months of expenses. That cash buffer is the vital shield that prevents you from ever having to sell your equities at a loss during a crisis. Let's map out exactly how to structure your budget architecture for the year ahead. This flowchart illustrates a decision framework based on your starting income and your location. Under 40,000 earners must use the 70-20-10 split to build an emergency base and avoid debt. Tier 1 metro residents must use the 60-20-20 split to survive rent while fiercely protecting their core investments. And aggressive savers earning over a lakh should use a 50-25-25 ratio to combat lifestyle creep and accelerate early wealth building. The exact ratio you pick matters far less than the structural discipline it builds. You are assigning every single rupee a job before the month even begins. But choosing a framework is useless without execution. The most dangerous psychological trap is trying to save whatever happens to be left over at the end of the month. You must automate the savings portion directly out of your primary account on the first of every month. before you have the chance to spend it. To survive inflation and actually build wealth, you have to pay your future self before